So again, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Erin Ahart. I'm one of two career counselors serving all CCAS graduate students, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Dr. Jonette Ruffner-Caesar as well. Today's workshop is called Effective Job Searching with ChatGPT, but don't be fooled by the title. We will also talk about a couple of other AI platforms that I find helpful and that students find helpful when they are job searching. And today we're really covering everything that you need to know to job search efficiently and effectively, especially in today's very competitive job market. This workshop is also part of our Career Readiness Workshop series. This is our signature series that we lead in the fall and spring semesters. And this semester is very special. We're very excited because we have a new theme for our workshops this fall, which is AI, the future of work, and navigating the current job market. And so this workshop is our kickoff workshop. It's the first one that's a part of this theme that Jonette and I are leading this semester. I also want to share that we will be covering a lot in today's workshop. It will be very fast paced and we will probably take up the full hour. So if you have questions, please add them in the chat. And if I'm talking too fast, not to worry, because I will be sending out the recording to all who registered and we'll be adding it to our YouTube workshop library as well. And you will also get the slides that you can read after today's presentation, where there will be clickable links to all of the links and the resources that I mentioned. I also want to share that this workshop will be two parts. So the first part of the workshop is really how to navigate and effectively job search in today's current job market. And the second half of the workshop will be how to use ChatGPT to help in your job search and how to use different AI platforms to make this process more efficient. So if you came here for the AI portion, please stay until the end. That will happen closer to the end of the hour. And so without further ado, let's get started. Again, my name is Erin Ahart. Just to share a little bit more about me. Yes, I'm a career counselor serving all CCAS graduate students, but I'm also specifically very passionate about helping Gen Z and young professionals make the transition from college to their careers. So outside of my full-time role here at GW, I'm also the host of a career advice podcast called Career Composer, and that's really focused on advice for Gen Z and young professionals. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Ruffner-Caesar to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Glad to see that so many of you are back from the initial orientation session. So happy to have you. As Erin mentioned, I am the other half of the team. And outside of GW, I own a professional services agency where I'm really passionate about supporting mid to senior level career women. But I use that same knowledge, skill, and expertise in this role. So the idea is to give you some of the insights for when you become more seasoned so that you don't necessarily have to run into some of the pitfalls that some of my clients run into. So very happy to have you all here and look forward to seeing you throughout the series this term.
Great. So again, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Ruffner-Caesar or I at any point throughout your time here at GW and beyond. You can feel free to make an appointment with us. And again, make sure you attend all of our workshops. So in today's session, you will define your unique job search goals and you'll start to think about what are my deal breakers and what are my nice to haves and what are the things that I need to be flexible on. In today's job market is more important than ever to be flexible and creative with your job search. And so that's why having this discussion around your specific goals and what your deal breakers are is imperative. You'll gain tips and tricks for finding jobs that match your skills, interests, values, and experience. You'll also learn how to streamline and make your job application process more efficient and create versatile application materials. And you'll also become a master at using ChatGPT and other AI tools to make your job search more effective and efficient. So step one in any job search is to start with your goals. It is so important to know exactly what your goals are with your job search because even in today's job market, it is so important that you are applying for jobs that are a good fit for you. This will give you the best chance of obtaining employment, and especially when the number of applicants to the number of jobs doesn't match up. There are so many more people applying for jobs right now. You need to stand out as the person who is the most qualified, who is the best fit, and who is in perfect alignment with the role, and who's genuinely interested in that job. So, really important to know exactly what you're looking for. Yes, the goal is to get a job, but what kind of job? So maybe you know exactly what your goals are, or maybe you're just exploring, or you're just looking for work, period. But keep in mind, do you want a job that will help you advance in your career? Do you want a higher salary? Are you looking for a remote job or a position with more flexibility? Do you want to work for an organization that aligns with your values and culture preferences? Do you want to work in a specific location? Find a job that you're truly passionate about, a job that allows you to explore your interests. Whatever the reason is, I want you to keep that top of mind, and maybe it's multiple. So, just to get yourself recalibrated as you begin your job search, one thing that Dr. Ruffner Caesar and I find really helpful is to get to know yourself through doing a VIPS, values, interests, personality, and skills worksheet or self reflection activity or assessment. And so, really, we just want you to work through each of these segments and get to know what you're looking for in each of these categories. So, when we discuss values, this might be something like working remotely or working in person, having a stable income or being a freelance professional, having an aligned mission and values, or maybe you don't care about that. Your interests are going to be things that you enjoy, that you're interested in learning more about, probably in alignment with the field and major or program that you chose. Your skills are the qualifications, skills, and relevant experience that make you a good fit for the role, the things that you do well. And your personality are really, it's really your way or style of doing things. So this could be maybe you like working independently, or maybe you like working in groups. Maybe you like being a leader, or maybe you like being the person who's executing all the time. Whatever it is, get clear on what you value in each of these categories. This is also something that is really great to talk over with a career coach, because we can help you flesh this out and really get to the bottom of what you're thinking about, what you're interested in. Now, getting clear on your goals is the first step, because your goals become your job search filters. So, based on your VIPs, what kind of job do you want? The title that you want. This ties back to that goal of career advancement. Location, where do you want to work? Work designation, do you want to be remote, hybrid, or in person? Salary. And then other things like company mission and values, company culture, benefits, company type, size, and team. These are things you might want to have to do some more research on. So, really read that job description in detail and go to the company website to learn more about it. But keep this list of goals and deal breakers versus your nice to haves and what can be flexible on. Keep that list either top of mind or beside you, written down on a piece of paper at all times in your job search. Because since we want to get our applications out there, since we want to create quality job application materials, we don't want to waste time on the things that are not going to serve us and that aren't going to be a good fit for us. Okay, so before we get into the how to search for jobs, I want to answer just a couple of commonly asked questions. So, one question that we always get is, why is it important to know myself first? Why can't I just get right into the job search process? Traditionally, the quality of your application materials is more effective and more important than the quantity. You don't just want to be hitting LinkedIn Easy Apply for every single job. However, when you're in a competitive job market like the one we're in now, you need both. You, yes, need to send out a lot of applications, and they have to be stellar in tip-top shape. Modern technology has made the job search highly competitive. You're much more likely to be considered when you apply for positions where you're clearly being very thoughtful, intentional, and that are the right fit for you. And your genuine interest in the position should really shine through and really should be glaringly obvious to the hiring manager. Hiring managers are overwhelmed when they are in a position of power. They have a lot of people to sift through because the market serves them right now. And so when they have this overwhelm, when they're sifting through a lot of different candidates, they want to feel like the person they pick is someone they can rely on and trust to stick around at that company, because finding the right candidates costs time and it costs money. And so showing that you're the best candidate for the role is something they're really looking for. Number two, submit a tailored resume and cover letter for every position that gives you the option to submit one. Make sure that you're submitting a cover letter. If you're not willing to take the time to point out in your application why you're most aligned and why you're the best fit for the role, it's probably not worth applying for. Another frequently asked question, am I qualified? How do I know if the jobs I'm applying for, I'm a good fit for? We like to tell students to follow the 80% rule. So if you have 80% of the required qualifications, you absolutely should apply to that role. If you're missing qualifications, but you read that job description and you know, without a doubt, I can absolutely do that job, definitely. And if you're excited about the opportunity, maybe you have 70% of what they're looking for. I still want you to apply, but if the connection isn't obvious between your experience and what you're looking for, those are the kinds of roles where you want to make sure, even more than others, that you are networking, you're reaching out to people, and you're introducing yourself in a follow-up email. Don't not apply because you don't have 80% of the experience or 100% of the experience. Don't reject yourself before the hiring manager has had a chance to even review your application. Okay, so step two, now that you have hopefully taken some time to reflect and get to know yourself and your goals, let's talk about how to job search. So I'm quickly going to go through the different tools and methods that you can use and explain them, and then we'll go into each of these in more depth and how to use them the right way. So in person, we have job fairs, networking events, and job ads. Job ads on billboards and help wanted signs. These are really more for blue collar jobs and people working in skilled trades, but they're definitely a great way to learn about jobs too. With job fairs and networking events, your job is really to find them. How can you find them? How can you find the right opportunities where you should be networking in person? For job fairs, those recruiters are actively looking to hire candidates. And at networking events, that's not always the goal. So that's the difference between, a job fair and maybe an alumni networking event, something related to your alma mater, or a DC location specific networking event. But those are helpful for cultivating relationships and building your network. The larger your network, the more you maintain those connections, and the more quality connections you have, the more that will come in handy later indirectly in your job search. So online is everything else. We have job search engines that I'm sure you're familiar with, like Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. Then you have job boards and email lists. So job boards and email lists are often looked over by job seekers, but they're really helpful to job seekers because employers find them very helpful. There are job boards for stay-at-home moms, flex jobs, remote work, jobs in tech, jobs in nonprofits, and related to the government. Because they tend to be more specific on finding a specific type of job seeker, those employers love those job boards because they know the people who are looking at them are being intentional with their job search, and they're going to be a specific kind of candidate that they're looking for. So that's where job boards and email lists can be really helpful. Professional associations. So a professional association is really a network of professionals in a specific industry or field. A lot of times these professional associations, I'll give you examples in a few slides from now, they'll have job boards on their website where you can search through the open positions that professionals in your field have posted. But they will also have directories of the members in those professional associations. And most of the times, the job boards are free to access to anyone who visits their website. Sometimes the directories are gate kept, depending on whether or not you're a member, but most of the time you'll be able to look at both. So a great job search tool and a great networking tool. Online networking through LinkedIn, industry contacts, and referrals. So networking is more of a constant practice that you're always doing. You want to start right now, if you haven't started already, building those connections on LinkedIn, and again, an emphasis on quality connections because those people are more likely to help you. We have a Working Your Network workshop recording that is public on our YouTube channel that goes into who to reach out to, who to network with, who should be a part of your network, and how to reach out to them, how to network and get in contact with these people. So if you're interested in networking as a job search tool, I'm not going to go into that too much today, but know that we have an entire other workshop on how you can tap into that. And then staffing agencies. So I'll also talk more about staffing agencies, but this is another great way to just have a different approach in your job search. So in general, there are two types of recruiters who work for a staffing agency and recruiters who work for a specific company. So these are really talent acquisition specialists. A recruiter who works at a staffing agency, their mission is to fill positions for a company that has contracted them. And then an internal recruiter at one company, a talent acquisition specialist, their job is to fill a role at the specific company that they work for. And then finally, we have company first searches. So sometimes, because companies are overwhelmed by the sheer number of people applying right now, they'll only post jobs to their company website on their open careers, open positions, and careers page. So if you have a list of companies that you would absolutely love to work for, keep that list, maybe top 10 to 15, and every Monday or Sunday night, go through all those websites and see if there are any openings at that company that they've only posted to their website. All right, so let's talk about how to tap into each of these things specifically. On the screen right now, you will see a bunch of different job boards, and I felt it was important to show you all examples because on some of them, you can see on the tech job board, you can actually search by title and keyword, by location, and you're able to use filters on these the same way that you would do them on LinkedIn or Indeed. So on the top left-hand side, you have work remotely from anywhere. That is Jobspresso. I like it because of the name, but also because it's a great job board. Curated remote jobs in tech, marketing, customer support, and more. Flex jobs. Oh, there we go. Flex jobs is the same thing. There's also a remote job board called Himalayas. I believe that's the name of it. Then you have Well Found. That's where startups and job seekers connect. So you have the latest jobs in tech. There is, you can see in the top right-hand corner, that is for working moms. Then there is the Black Career Women's Network. On the left, you'll see Idealist, which is a nonprofit job board. There's pretty much a job board for anything and everything. So if you want help figuring out what the best job boards are for you to use, ChatGPT can come in handy, or even just Google's AI pop-up that pops up now when you Google search. What are the best job boards that I should be tapping into as a marketing professional, for example? And it will come up with a list for you. Next, we have professional associations. So the ones that I'm featuring here are the American Chemical Society, the American Economic Association, and the American Association for State and Local History. So up top is the Chemical Society. On the bottom left, this is the American Economic Association. This one's really interesting and really well built out because it actually shows the timeframes for when the postings have been posted. And it again has these filter options for you to use. So I really appreciate that. And then on the bottom right, we have featured jobs, and that is from the Association for State and Local History. So again, professional associations are great because it's a network of professionals in your industry. And because of that, these job boards are usually vetted. There's usually a person working for the association who goes in and makes sure that each job posting is actually legitimate before they post it on their website. Now moving on to staffing agencies. So just to show you how many staffing agencies and recruiters there are out there, I just did a quick Google search in preparation for this workshop. And this wasn't even the full first page of Google that came up when I searched staffing agencies in Washington, D.C. So you can see just the number of agencies that you could be working with, and you could work with multiple at one time. Um, so I just want to take a second to share, and the next slide is on staffing agencies too, but share I've only had one experience working with a recruiter, but I felt like it was really valuable and I learned a lot. So 2 years ago, when I was searching for positions, a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn, and it was because a friend of mine had given a recruiter who she knew working in HR, gave that recruiter my name, and the recruiter said, "Hey, so and so shared with me that you're searching for roles in higher ed. XYZ. Um, I have this open position. Would you like to get on a call so I can tell you more about it?" So I hopped on a call with the recruiter, and she went through and shared about the position, but really it was more of an informal interview where she was asking me questions about my experience and why I felt I would be a good fit for that specific role. At the end of the call, she said, "Are you familiar with XYZ?" Which was the company that she was recruiting for. And I said, "Yes, I actually applied for that role already." And the recruiter said, "Darn it, that's unfortunate because that means I can no longer represent you in your job search." So I learned a lot from that because to work with a recruiter, when they have all of your information about why you're going to be good for that role, and then they put it in their directory of job seekers who they can draw from, that recruiter actually puts together a summary of why you would be a good fit for certain kinds of roles that they're trying to fill. And whenever they have a good person who they want to share with the hiring committee at the company that they're working for, they send an in-depth summary along with the job seeker's resume. And that summary is why that recruiter thinks that you're a good fit for the job. So when you work with a recruiter and you apply for a job through them first before you apply on your own, you now have a person who is supporting you and who is sharing why they think you're a good fit for the role, which could be really, really helpful to have. Um, Recruiters often are in charge of staffing what we call the hidden job market. So these are positions that are not posted on LinkedIn, Indeed, and Handshake. So that's another great way to learn. You can also go onto any of these websites, and there will be a candidates page or a job seekers page, and it shares how you can work with them and what the steps are through working with that recruiting agency. And they often have their open positions just listed on the website. So if you're not sure if you want to take the time to talk to a recruiter, go and look at their open positions, see if you're interested in one or two roles that they're filling, then reach out to them so you can apply for that role with a recruiter vetting you. And so if you go to the candidates or job seekers page, these are some examples that I found of their placement process and how you would work with them. So on the top left, this is called The Choice. It's a recruiting agency in DC, and it talks about what you can expect when you partner with them. There is no fee that you pay as a job seeker because the company is paying the recruiting agency to find people. You're not paying the fee as a job seeker. Okay, so moving on from staffing agencies, let's talk about resources for international students. This slide is, these are not GW websites. So we have the H-1B Employer Data Hub. This is run by the government, and the government websites are constantly changing with the new administration. So I found that there's less information on this page than there was when I delivered this workshop before. However, there's also My Visa Jobs. My Visa Jobs at one point did take their information from the H-1B Employer Data Hub. Now I'm not sure how they're getting their information, but that's another website that you can use if you're trying to figure out what companies have sponsored H-1Bs in the past. But I also want to highlight a new resource that you as GW students have access to, which is called InnerStride. I love InnerStride because you can learn about the process for obtaining employment in different countries, including in the US. And it also has a job search feature. So you can look for open jobs in other countries on InnerStride, and also hear from alumni who have been successful. So really definitely look into InnerStride. If you have more questions about that, happy to answer them. Okay. So before we move on to job search engines and making these job search engines work for you, I just want to take a second because I know this has already been a lot of information. Does anyone have any specific questions about job boards, professional associations, staffing agencies, or job searching for international students? Because I'm sharing my screen, it is a little difficult for me to look at the chat. So if anyone wants to unmute, please feel free.
Erin, you've actually answered the questions that were in the chat have been answered so far.
Perfect. Okay, great. So we will go ahead and move on. So let's talk about these job search engines. What's the difference? Which one should you use? I find it really helpful to just focus on two, maybe three, because it's a lot, and often you'll see the same postings posted across each of them. Before I tell you the one that I am biased towards, I'll go through the pros and cons of each. So Handshake is the job search platform that you have access to through GW. There's a medium number of opportunities available, which can be helpful because it's less overwhelming. It's best for college and university students. Sometimes there are more opportunities than others for specific majors, depending on the program that you're in. And I always tell people whenever you find an opportunity on a job search platform, it's always best to apply through the company website. But something that I do want to point out about Handshake is that whenever employers post a job posting on Handshake, they have to manually indicate which students from which schools they want those postings to be visible to. So if you come across a job posting on Handshake, you know that that employer wants to hire GW students, which is really, really helpful. Moving on to LinkedIn. I'll tell you, LinkedIn, I'm very biased towards LinkedIn. It's my favorite job search platform. That's the one I encourage everyone to use. This is a large number of opportunities. It's all in one, job postings, company and employee information, networking capabilities, everything you could possibly need is on LinkedIn. The thing with LinkedIn is that you really should know the tips and tricks to make LinkedIn work for you. And we'll talk about programming it and optimizing it to really help you in your job search in a couple slides. Again, apply on the company website. And then Indeed, largest number of opportunities in the world. Because of that, I find it overwhelming, but it also means you're probably not going to miss anything. Even if a company doesn't post a job on Indeed, Indeed is scrubbing the internet, searching the web to pull things and post it on Indeed. A catch-all for every job posting imaginable. It's really easy to waste time looking for opportunities because there's just so many of them and time is of the essence. So that's why I would just want to be intentional about how you use that platform. And then again, apply on the company website. So let's talk about making job search platforms work for you. You can do this on Indeed and LinkedIn, but I find that LinkedIn is much better at it. When you make these job search platforms work for you, you are completing your profile in full. So this includes adding an updated resume. You can see I don't use Indeed. That is my resume from 2021 that is in the platform. So obviously you would want an up-to-date resume there. You want to add your qualifications, your job preferences, and then you can even hide jobs with certain details. So if something is a hard no, something is a clear deal breaker for you, you never have to see it. You want to add your qualifications. And I recommend adding your most versatile resume. So this isn't a highly tailored resume for one specific kind of job. This is a resume that if you're applying to maybe 3 different types of jobs, if an employer in any one of those jobs clicks on this resume, it's probably going to be applicable. And then you also want to add your preferences. I recommend only adding your must-haves to your preferences because you don't want to rule anything out. You want to make sure that you're saving jobs that interest you, and then you want to turn on notifications. So Indeed allows you to turn on notifications for similar jobs when you click on a job posting, and LinkedIn and Handshake also have the same thing. The reason why I love LinkedIn is because when I in the past have used LinkedIn for my job search, it sends me job postings that are exactly a match for my qualifications and are exactly what I was looking for. There's even more options to personalize it, and you can go in and you can add up to 5 job titles that you're looking at in LinkedIn, and it will send you any new job titles that pop up in your geographic area. And you can also add the open to work feature, but hide it from your network. So if you are currently employed or you don't want to let anyone know that you're job searching, it won't add the green banner to your profile photo. And instead, whenever a recruiter goes to your profile, only recruiters and hiring managers will see that you're open to work, but not people you currently work with. So that's a really sneaky, really helpful way to make LinkedIn work for you. Okay. Using filters. So the top screenshot is Indeed, the second screenshot is LinkedIn. Make sure that you're looking at all filters. On LinkedIn, go to all filters. Now, again, you don't want to be too specific because we also want to be flexible and keep our options open in this competitive job market. But you do want to make sure that you're aware of what these filters are so you can add in your deal breakers. Um, how should I see a question in the chat. How should I tailor my resume to be flexible for a wide range of jobs on LinkedIn? We're going to talk about that in probably a minute. Great question. One last thing for LinkedIn specifically is something that's called a Boolean search. So if you go into the job search, into the search tab at the top of the page, you can search for keywords. So one example is in the top right hand corner of this slide. You can do data if you're looking for data analyst positions, data analyst and hiring and the location. And when I did data analyst hiring Nashville, look, I can now see the postings from people who may not have posted these jobs on LinkedIn in as a specific job opening, but they're posting about the company, job posting on that company website to inform their network. Yeah, on the right, immediate hiring, W-2 roles. We're hiring for multiple on-site positions, XYZ. It looks like this is someone from a staffing agency. Now, one thing to note as all of these populate, once you do that Boolean search with these postings, some of them will be scams. And you can tell if they're a scam if there are thousands of comments. And usually the hiring manager will say, comment interested if you're interested in learning more about the role. And then you'll see thousands of people commenting just the word interested, and it's not a real job. Or you'll never hear anything from that hiring manager ever again. So go and stalk whoever has posted this posting to make sure that either it's from a company page or it's from a legitimate recruiter. And then you can move forward from there. And if you're interested in a job, never just comment interested. Reach out directly to that person on LinkedIn via LinkedIn message, or if you see their email, then email them. Legitimate recruiters typically have their email in their LinkedIn bio. Reach out to them personally, introduce yourself. Okay. Okay, I see a follow-up question. I have a follow-up call with a recruiter I briefly met at the expo on Friday. It's an informal conversation. I'd like to use it to show I'm a strong candidate. Any tips for making the most of this call? Great question. We'll come back to that at the end of today's presentation. Okay. So step 4 is to actually apply for jobs. Yeah, and the reason why I changed it to as soon as possible is because in today's job market, you want to get your applications out there. It is quantity now as much as it is quality. So, the first thing that I would encourage you to do if you are actually taking your job search seriously is to create a spreadsheet for yourself. And I've had some amazing students share with me how they use Notion to create a tracking system for their jobs. I prefer Excel. I'm just not a wizard with Notion, but Excel is really simple, something that anyone can use. The things that you want to be keeping track of are the companies that you've applied for, the job title, the salary, the LinkedIn job link or the Indeed job link, whatever site you got it from. Did you apply? Yes or no? Did you submit a cover letter with your application? Yes or no? I included a tab that says, Am I really interested? Because those are the ones that you want to put a lot of extra effort into. The date you applied, did you follow up? Yes or no? And did you get a first round interview? Yes or no? Um, let's talk about the reasons why this is important. Yes, of course, you want to keep track of the jobs that you've applied for, but it's also important in a competitive job market to use this as ways to collect data points about what's successful and what's not successful in your job search. So if you see that you've applied to, five jobs, not five, let's say 20 jobs with the same job title, and you haven't gotten a single interview, that doesn't mean you stop applying for those positions, but it means you take note of it because if you continue to not be successful with your applications, that is an important data point that will let you know either I need to pivot or come up with a different strategy, or maybe my application materials aren't where they need to be. And that's definitely a time to meet with a career coach and check in because if you see that you're not being successful, that means it's time to make a change. Um, and maybe you will be successful with applying for other kinds of job titles. And if you are successful and you need to be employed as soon as possible, then those are the ones that you should focus on. I always tell students your application has not officially been submitted until you follow up. So if you're serious about a job, some people prefer to follow up 2 weeks after they've applied to ask if that employer got their application. That's actually not what I like to do because at this point, employers got your application and they don't want you to bother them. They're getting a million emails like that. Instead, I recommend that you reach out to them 1 to 2 days after you apply to just introduce yourself and express your interest because then there's a purpose to that email. You're not bugging them to ask if they received your application. You're taking the extra step to once again share your interest and include three very brief reasons why you believe you're a great fit for the role in that email. So I really like that as a strategy for following up. Another thing that people like to do is if you see a job that was posted really recently that's not going to be closed for, hopefully at least another week, you can take that time to reach out to somebody at that company and have a call with them to learn more about the position, which may allow you to name drop that person in your application or give you insight into what they're looking for so you can better tailor your application materials. So that's something else to keep track of in this application. Okay. Now, another thing that I would do, and I filled this out as if it were me doing it, in that same spreadsheet, you're going to want to copy and paste your resume bullet points for each experience that you have on your resume and make a list of top skills that you would want to highlight. The reason why is because when you apply for a position, oftentimes you're submitting it through something called Workday or another applicant tracking system. And you're going to have to fill that out every single time, and it can take a long time. So instead of having to type out everything when each time you're applying, have either a Word document or an Excel to copy and paste your resume bullet points into that system. And then I like having skills because it often has a section where you can add your top skills when you're applying. And you don't want to have to go through and try and remember, okay, what skills did I add last time? No, you have all these skills written out, so you can just type them in and click add every single time. Again, because quantity is important, you are really, really trying to just make this process easier for yourself. Okay. Um, One last thing before we really get into AI. And I'll come back to your question, Chloe, too, at the end of today's presentation. Tailor your job materials to every position. And this is something that AI is really going to help you with. But we had a question about this, and this is really the answer to that question. So let's say that you're applying for 3 different kinds of jobs with 3 different job titles. You're going to want to have a resume for each different kind of job that you're applying for. You don't need a new resume for every single job, but just the category of positions. So, what I tell people to do when they're starting their job search is to go and pull 5 job descriptions for open positions in each category, right? And then you're looking at the common keywords and phrases that are found in each job description for that category. And you're going to tailor a resume using the similarities that you find across all those job descriptions for that specific job title. Then you're going to do the same thing again for the other job titles you're looking for, and again for the other ones. You want to highlight your most relevant experience and use that resume for all jobs in that job type. Now, second, let's talk about cover letters. These take longer to write than just submitting the same resume. And at one point, I would have said never use a cover letter template, but because of the urgency, my thoughts on that have changed slightly. I think you can use a cover letter template as a starting point when tailoring your letter to each role, because there's going to be some language that's going to make sense every time. And language that also sounds like it's coming from you. Because when the more you use ChatGPT, the more you're going to sound like that robot. So a cover letter should be 3 to 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph is one that is going to be different every single time because your first paragraph is expressing interest, why you're excited about that role and company, and why you feel that you're in alignment with the position. Your body paragraph or paragraphs, these are the ones that can come from a template with similar language, especially if you're trying to highlight the things that you feel like make you the best fit for the role. But you're going to relate that experience and relate that information from that template back to each specific company and role. And so connecting it back to that company is what is going to change every time. And then the final paragraph is briefly summarizing why you would work well together with the company, and then going into thank you for your consideration. I look forward to sharing more about my enthusiasm and qualifications in an interview. You may contact me at blah blah blah. So that's just briefly the template that I share with students for writing cover letters. The body paragraphs are really the ones that you can have language for prepared. Okay, so getting into the home stretch, I really appreciate all of you who have stayed on until this point. How can AI help in your job search? So I'm going to go through some different ways that you can use ChatGPT, but also other AI tools. First, I want to start off by saying just be careful and be intentional and take this seriously, because we always want to represent our true selves when we're applying to a position, of course, with a layer of professionalism. But you want to make sure that it sounds like it's coming from you. Let's say that you're applying for a writing heavy role. If you submit a cover letter that was completely written by ChatGPT, how is that fair to the hiring manager who's judging your letter for your writing skills? It's not. And also, hiring managers are getting better and better at differentiating materials that have been written with AI and that have not been written with AI. So Dr. Ruffner Caesar and I had an experience when we were hiring for an internship, and multiple of the students who applied had the exact same wording, exact same sentence structure, exact same paragraph structure. And they all had different programs. They all had different reasons for being interested in the role. And the fact that they were so similar told us that AI had been used. And you don't know what information ChatGPT or AI is giving to other job seekers who are applying for that job. So please just be careful, but now we'll get into the ways that you can use it. The first way that you can use ChatGPT is to identify other job titles that you may not be aware of that can help expand your search and lead to positions of interest. So you can use the prompt, what are similar job titles to community engagement coordinator? That would expand my job search options. And this one is for a learning and development manager. But it says, training and development manager, organizational development manager, talent development manager. If you're just searching for learning and development manager, you may not get the other roles that are the exact same kind of job that have slightly different job titles. So that's a way that you can expand your search. You can also use ChatGPT to generate keywords and phrases to tailor your application materials. So you can use the prompt, what are the keywords, phrases, and required/preferred qualifications I should highlight when tailoring my resume to this job description? And then you would copy and paste the job description and your current resume into ChatGPT. Or you could just copy and paste the job description into ChatGPT. It would give you the key keywords and phrases that are important for you to mention and the preferred qualifications that each of these job descriptions are looking for. And then it's up to you to determine, do I have this experience? Is it appropriate for me to talk about these things on my resume? And if yes, how can I incorporate them? These are prompts for true editing of your resume. The next slide will be cover letter for grammar and tone specifically. And again, be careful. So the first prompt is edit my resume bullet points to follow the SAR method and then spell it out for the ChatGPT so it knows you're talking about situation, action, result. Ensure my bullet points are free of grammar errors and use the correct tense based on when my experiences occurred, past or present, and then insert your resume. So you can see that you had to have a certain level of knowledge of what makes good resume bullet points in order for ChatGPT to actually do it right for you. So you need to come in knowing exactly what you want the platform to do for you. The next prompt is tailor my resume bullet points to this job description. And then the key part is saying, while keeping the integrity of my current bullet points, focus on incorporating keywords and phrases from the JD into my current bullet points. Do not add new skills and or experience that are not already stated on my resume. The third one is highlight parts of my bullet points where quantitative information could make them more impactful. Do not add quantitative information to my bullet points that are not already part of my current bullet points. And then it will basically come back and tell you, here's where you should add numbers if you can. For your cover letter, you could use the prompt, reorganize my cover letter to communicate my current points in 3 parts. These are the parts that I just explained. Why you're interested, why you're the best candidate, and why you and the company would work well together. Another prompt, rewrite my cover letter 3 different ways to give me ideas for how I might edit my current cover letter to be more concise, impactful, and free of grammar errors, tailored to the position I'm applying for. And then finally, edit the tone of my cover letter to sound more concise, professional, and confident. I really like that one because it just gives you some more options for phrasing that you can use. And oftentimes it will give you 2 versions of a cover letter. And so you can pick and choose what you like. Again, ATS systems and hiring managers can identify Gen AI usage, so don't make these mistakes. Do not use vague action verbs without providing further clarification in your bullet points. For example, the words streamlined and spearheaded. ChatGPT uses these all the time, and I never saw these words used on student resumes until ChatGPT existed. So if you wouldn't use those words, come up with different words that you actually would use instead of the ones that it gives back all the time. Don't use fake language like results-driven professional. ChatGPT will use fancy sounding language that actually means nothing when it doesn't have enough information about your experience or you didn't feed it enough. Don't use false numbers. Everything on your resume is fair game for interviewers to ask you about, so you have to be prepared to explain every single thing that's listed there. What you should do is you should pick and choose which suggestions you decide to keep based on your own judgment. You all are extremely intelligent, smart individuals, and you could do this on your own before ChatGPT ever existed. So use your own judgment to make sure that it's a helpful tool and not a crutch. Other platforms besides ChatGPT, Apollo IO is one that I really like. I heard about this through another career coach in the Trachtenberg School. Apollo IO uses LinkedIn to get the emails of professionals to reach out to. So you can go into Apollo IO, create a free account, and it'll give you, I think, 10 credits, which amounts to accessing 10 professionals' emails each week. And so if you find someone on LinkedIn that you really want to have a conversation with, this is an example of what Apollo IO would give back to you. You search their name into Apollo IO, it grabs their information from LinkedIn and gives you their email. And again, if you want to learn more about when it's appropriate to reach out to people, how to do it, who to do it with, Working Your Network is our workshop recording. VMOC is GW's AI resume review platform. It will allow you to receive an AI resume review, and your resume will get a percentage out of 100 and share how ready it is to submit. It usually provides an AI or ATS friendly resume template, and then it also has a mock interview feature that you can utilize. And before we get into questions, I just want to share, if you want more help in your job search, Dr. Ruffner Caesar and I go into detail about how to tailor your materials to each position and how to search for positions that are the right fit for you in one-on-one appointments. So please schedule an appointment with us on Handshake. We can answer any career-related question that you have, and we're truly here to help. But this semester, again, our theme for our workshops is AI, the future of work, and navigating the current job market. So our second workshop in this series, the future of work, is October 16th. Our third one is the human advantage, and that's really how to talk about what you offer without AI. How do you stand out in a world that's driven by this technology without you just using that as the only thing that makes you special? What do you bring to the table that AI never will? And then finally, we have Beyond the Job Hunt, Entrepreneurship as a Path to Career Success, to learn about how to adopt an entrepreneurial mindset as you go throughout your job search, but also how entrepreneurship could be another path to success for you. And with that, I know we have some questions, so I do want to open it up for folks to ask their questions. So this time is now yours. All right, I'll start with answering a couple questions in the chat. What if there's no contact email listed for the position? So when you're addressing a cover letter, dear hiring manager is fine. But if you wanted to reach out to someone, sometimes companies don't want to share emails because they have so many people reaching out to them. And it's unfortunate, but you may not be able to reach out to someone. Instead, you could start networking with other people who work for that company, specifically GW alumni. In our Working Your Network recording, we also talk about how to get in contact with GW alum working at the companies that you're targeting, because they're much more likely to help you since you have something in common with them. So happy to share more about that, but you could start reaching out to those people. And if you have a great conversation with them, it's possible they'll pass your name along to the right person. The student who said, I have a follow-up call with a recruiter. It's more of an informal conversation. I want to use it to show I'm a strong candidate. Any tips for making the most of this call? Yeah, so you're right. It's more casual than an interview. At the same time, it's still really important. So you don't have to be as nervous or as formal as you would in a real interview, but you're using this time to really insert all your key points. What makes you stand out? And I think I would have a list, if this were me, I would have my resume next to me. I would have a list next to me about what I'm looking for in a role and what I offer. And I want to make sure that I work in all of those points throughout this call as best I can. It will probably be about 15 minutes. Maybe it'll be longer depending on your conversation with that person. But I would also use it as a time to demonstrate your interest by asking really insightful questions. So it's always impressive to me when people have asked really, really good questions about the role to show that they've done their research and that they're interested. So that's something that could really be impressive on that call. Other questions? Feel free to drop something in the chat or feel free to unmute. Was this helpful? Juliet, yes. Chloe, yes. Ben, great. Nikki, Shivani, great. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad this was helpful. Like I said, we are here to help. So please reach out to us via email. You can email CCAS_careers. You can schedule an appointment on Handshake. You can register for future workshops. We're here to help. I do see one more question. I haven't heard back from a lot of roles. Gonna play with job titles now. Great. Yeah, and if you haven't heard back, it could have to do with your application materials. It have to do with the kinds of companies you're targeting, your location. So why don't you schedule an appointment? If anyone's having trouble, schedule an appointment with Dr. Upner Caesar or myself so we can actually pinpoint what truly is going on.